Sensei. I'm very happy to meet and interact with a world-famous personality, Dr. Farookh Sensei. I'm Rena Razack, Junior SPC Cadet of Idle English Higher Secondary School, Kadesheri.
Hi, Rena.
Sensei, I know you are an expert in the field of learning and development, an able mentor, inspirational speaker, author, entrepreneur, and a leadership coach. Holder of 8 records in International Aviation Studies with 41 AHA qualifications. It's my pleasure to have you here. Sensei, can you share with us the story behind your success?
Why not? Why not? If you ask anyone, any successful person in the world, and everyone will tell you that success is not the end or success is not the destination. That's number one that we need to understand. Number two, we need to understand that success is not a short and easy game. To become successful, you have to fail several times. And when I say fail, you have to fail fast, very fast.
Yeah.
So the faster you fail, you learn lessons, just like what you are learning lessons. Am I right? When you are a kid, when we were a kid, when you were a kid, you fell down many times. Each time you fall down, you get up and you start walking. Am I right? So every time you fall, you tend to get up and then you walk. In my life, it was the same case. I failed many, many times in my life. And the end result was where I am today because I had a very clear dream. Do you have a dream of yours? Ask yourself. Ask your friends whether they have a dream because everybody in this world, if you have to grow, you got to have a dream. If you don't have the dream, then it's very hard for you to grow. Growth is something that happens in two ways. Okay. One, we physically grow, for which we don't have to do anything. We just, even if you don't exercise, you still grow if you have the proper nutrition. Am I right? From a child, you grow up. But that growth does not happen here. Here, to have something here, you have to develop yourself. That's why, just like what you started with, earlier times we used to say learning, but now we call learning and development. Just by learning, nothing's going to happen. You have to learn something either from your school, from your college, from your teacher, from your professor, from your lecturer. And then you have to put that into practice. That's when you start developing. In my case, I learned myself. I didn't have teachers. I failed in my 8th grade. I should not be saying that to a student. I was terminated from Kendriya Vidyalaya in Calicut, which is in East Hill. The principal said that I don't want to have a student like you. I then had to join my uncle's studio. It was horrible there for 1 year to work. So I said, no, I need to have the freedom. Okay, because everybody likes freedom, whether you are young or old, everyone loves freedom. So I need that freedom. So I said that I won't be able to work anymore in the studio. So I need to get out of here. I went for many interviews, many school interviews, English medium schools, because I was not very fluent in Malayalam. Though my mother tongue is Malayalam, I was not much fluent in Malayalam. I went for many interviews and I lost everywhere because I was a backbencher. I was a backbencher. And at last, there was no other way. So I had to join one of the Malayalam medium schools here in my hometown, in Kerala, in Malappuram district, in Tirur. I didn't know Malayalam, so it was a challenge for the teachers. The teacher used to take classes in Malayalam, and I used to take notes in English and Hindi. I don't know how did I manage my 8th and 9th grade. When I reached 10th, again, I failed. So failure is something that happens in your life, and you have to adapt failure as your friend. I failed there, so I went for a tuition, and then I made it. I don't know how did I make it, but I got to the minimum pass mark. When I went for my +2, we used to call it as pre-degree those days. I'm talking about 1983. When I went for pre-degree, now it's English. Now I know how to rule the class. So from there onwards, I became the top. I was the top scorer in my pre-degree, in my batch. Then when I went to degree, again, I was top in my class. I never used to go to classroom. That's again a different story. But whenever I want to focus on something, I make sure that I'm number one. So this is something that everybody has to have. You should never be a mediocre. Okay, there are different types of people. There are some people who are mediocre. They just stand behind and they just try to defend themselves. That is not the way of a leadership. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be a dominator, you have to be in the forefront, just like the leaders in the front. They are the one who takes the bullets. If you are in the battlefield, you are the ones to take the bullets. Am I right? So you got to be in the front to take all the bullets, and that needs confidence. That needs courage. So I failed in my school, as I mentioned right now. Then I took martial arts. That was something else which I really loved, and I went for my first belt grading. Everybody in the school, let me tell you, everyone who attended that examination, the belt test, everyone passed except me. So there was again a failure. My teacher, my martial art teacher, he's not alive today. May God bless him and his soul. He said that, Farookh, you can't become a champion. The day he said that you can't become a champion, from that day onwards, I have always become a champion. So people may act against you, they may talk against you. What you have to do is sometimes you have to plug in your ears, and you should not be listening to people, what they say. Sometimes the weather may not be good for you, but you have to go against the weather. Sometimes the wind might be against you, but still you have to go against the wind, because an aircraft cannot take off from the ground until otherwise there's a wind from the opposite side. You have to take all those things. I failed in my martial arts. Later on, I became a 4 times national champion of India, and I represented Qatar, the Middle East Qatar, in 2 world championships, one in Brazil and one in Italy. When it came to IATA, I didn't have any teacher. I wanted to become a pilot. And I was an NCC cadet at that time, and I wanted to become a pilot. So there's a place called Peta, which is near to Trivandrum. So I was doing my degree. So I went there for my written test. I did that very well. Then I was called upon for an interview. Now, I'm 6 feet 2 inches tall. I'm really proud of my height, and people look at me as like a giant guy. So they called me for an interview. So I was very proud. And my friends, they said that you're going to bang it. You're going to get it because you're tall enough, you're built, you're a champion, and all those things. So it started building my confidence. As soon as I entered into the room, there was a major who was sitting there, and he asked me, it was a trainee pilot. So he asked me, what's your height? I didn't even sit. He didn't give me the time to sit. He asked me, what's my height? And I said that I'm 6'2". He said, you're disqualified. I said, what's the reason? I'm 6'2", because you need to have height. That was the perception that I had. He said, no, if you have to sit in a learning plane in India, especially in India, you got to be less than 6 feet. And that was the very first time I felt that my height is a disadvantage for my dream. But again, what you have to do, what happens if there is a block on the way? You have to detour, am I right? You have to take a different route. Yeah. That's exactly what happened in my life, because I knew that I can't become a pilot because of my height. And I knew that I can't become a pilot because I had damaged my right eye in an accident. So I knew that I can't sit in the cockpit for sure, but I love a couple of things. Number one, I love traveling. Number two, I love airline industry. And number three, I love teaching. These are the 3 things. So what I did is I clubbed all this together. So if I get an opportunity in the aviation industry, then as an instructor, then all this can happen. So my idea was to get into the aviation industry. And that's the period when my dad introduced me. My dad comes from Kuwait Airways and Indian Air Force. So he introduced me to IATA program. And during those days, there was no IATA classes or no IATA schools. This was long back. So what I did is I bought the book from Canada, and I started learning myself. And again, I failed. But I was so much fascinated with the aviation. I said, no way, I'm not going to take money again from my dad. I'm going to invest money myself. Always understand, you got to invest in yourself if you want to grow. So I didn't have money with me. I was teaching karate classes at that time. So I took the money from my karate lessons. I invested in myself to learn IATA program. And then I started teaching IATA program in the same place where I'm sitting right now, but not in the studio, but in the same location. People used to come from many other places, and they used to come and learn. And that made me an expert in teaching IATA program. Later on, when I got my 15 diplomas in IATA, IATA sent me a letter saying that you are the very first person in the world who has ever completed 15 courses all by yourself. And that was in 1996. That was a proud moment for me because I got straight away into the world record. Until today, nobody has broken my world record. That was 15 diplomas or 15 certifications. Today, as you mentioned, it is now 41. And now I don't look towards my IATA program. I moved from my karate programs. I moved from my IATA programs, everything, because as life changes, you have to change. Today, what I focus on is how to build leadership. I call myself as expertist, expertist. You will never find this word or this terminology in the dictionary, or even if you Google it, because there is no such English word which is called expertist. So if you ask me, what does that mean? I have given my own meaning, that I'm a specialist in creating experts. Now, Rena, you know something about what you're doing right now. You are expert in something. It could be anything. It could be anything. If you're coming to me and say that I want to establish myself as an expert, what can you do? That's where my expertise comes in. So it could be a doctor, it could be a lawyer, it could be a professional, it could be an entrepreneur, it could be a leader, whoever people they come. Today, what I do is I take them to a next level, which is called, I make them an expert. They might be expert in their career or their profession, but I take them to the second level where I make them a professional speaker, a presenter, where they can teach and explain their profession or their career. So by doing that, what happens is that they create a legacy of leaders. And that's what I do right now. I know the story was a bit long.
Sir, would you please comment on SPC and its projects?
It's absolutely grooming leaders. That's what I would say. Okay. It's a human leader inside your uniform. Because to be a leader, a leadership and a leader is not a title. Okay. If you call yourself as a cadet, or if you call yourself as a teacher or principal or manager, these are titles, but leadership is something that you have to build in yourself. To become a leader, you don't have to be the top level. You can be somewhere in the middle and still you can become a leader. That's called 360-degree leadership. So what is happening with you is grooming yourself, because number one, you take care of your health, and especially during the COVID-19, people have started realizing that it's so important to take care of your health. So by joining such an organization and giving your complete, number one, you're taking care of your health, the food that you eat, the nutrition that goes into your body. Number two, you do the exercise, you do parades and so forth, so that you keep your physically fit. And once you are physically fit, automatically that's connected with you're mentally fit. Am I right? So that gives you more focus. And not only that, you're working in a group. You're not doing everything by yourself. You have a battalion, am I right? So you have different battalions, different teams together. So automatically what happens, you will get the confidence, you'll have the courage, and you'll have the leadership quality to how to lead those teams in a good way. And when it's in the tough time, how to lead that. So I would say that it was a good decision that you took, and maybe it's your parents also who encouraged you to join, and maybe it is your teacher who motivated you, inspired you, empowered you. So everything plays a major role. Always understand that what you are today, all the little young police chaps who are listening to me right now, I want you to understand that your life, maybe at the age of 30 or maybe 40, what you're learning today, that culture would be there with you always. It's always there with you. For me, it is very difficult for me to interfere or interact with people who do not talk with discipline. I'm a very disciplined person. As you know, when I say it is 10 o'clock, it is 10 o'clock. And where did I learn that? I learned that from my dad, because my dad comes from Indian Air Force, because we are very, very punctual. If you take 10 o'clock and if you don't come for an interview at 10:02, forget it, I won't be there in front of the camera. So it builds that character in you. If you look everything, if you look what you call as the iceberg theory, the success is here. You ask me what is success, but the extreme down of the iceberg, it is your character. So if you want to be successful here, your character must be good. If your character is not good, you might be successful financially, might be successful, but that's not going to help you. If you are a person, financially successful person with a character which does not match with the society. So what you're doing right now is you're building your character, and tomorrow with that character, And if you also win people's heart, you become a people's person, automatically what happens, it goes the complete circle.
I think your passion is martial arts. How do you become the master of martial arts?
One thing, Rana, we need to understand that passion keeps on changing. Passion keeps on
Yeah.
changing. As I mentioned, when it was in school days, it was learning. When it was in martial art, it was martial art. And number three, when I came to IATA, it was IATA. Then I came to aviation, it was aviation. Now I'm to leadership, it's leadership. You always have to understand that you have to segment your life. When you are in that particular circle, for example, if you are a student, you have to focus only on that one. Okay, you have to be number
Yeah.
one in that. You have to be number one. That doesn't mean that you have to stamp on the shoulders of other people. No, with their help, with their collaboration, with the help of your friends, you have to become number one. So in that particular circle, and after you become number one, then you have to give it to somebody else. You should never ever hang on to that. That's not a good thing. And this is something which I have always learned in my life. When I become number one, I leave my space. I leave my space, and now what I do is I teach people how to become number one. So that's when you become more fulfilled. If you want to be number one always, what happens is that there would be a time where you start feeling yourself that, oh my goodness, that gentleman, that guy is trying to beat me. And then there is an ego which creates. Once you have that sort of ego or tug of war, automatically what happens, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you go down. But at the same time, if you want them to grow, you motivate them, encourage them. Now, you asked the question about martial arts. I've been in the martial arts for the last many years. It's more, and I got my sixth dan many years back. And I'm not interested to go further. All my teachers, they expired in this 6 months. In the last 6 months, my 5 to 7 teachers, they expired. From Japanese instructors, and the instructor who taught me the very first one, everyone, most of them, they expired within the past 6 months, I'll tell you. So this year was not that good for me from my martial art perspective. And I don't want to grow into martial arts because I think that it was time for me to give it to somebody else. I have students who are learning martial arts under me for last 37 years, and and that gentleman is 7th degree black belt. He's higher than me. So now what happens, I'm so proud of him, and I say that is my student. You got me? If I had the tug of
Yeah.
war, if I see that my student is growing than me, and if I have the tug with him and I want to pull him down, automatically what happens? He won't respect me. I will lose my respect. No, that should not be the way you have to work. Always focus to be number one. This is something I always love to do. Number one, you got to be number one. You have to be the leader. You have to be the dominator. And once you be the dominator, then what you have to focus is to grow from there. Ask yourself, what is that I need to do so that I can bring somebody to this level so that I can automatically grow? Let me tell you a secret. Let me tell you a secret. The secret is it good to become a king? Is it good to become a king? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say no. And now you might ask me this question, why? Because I know that most of the people who are watching this video would ask, why? Don't become a king, but become the kingmaker. You got the difference now. If you become the king, you are just one single person and that particular position. But if you are a kingmaker, you'll have kings around you. I made him the king, I made him the king, I made him the king. So become the kingmaker, and that's what I focus on. That's how I make people as their expertise. Be a kingmaker. So to become a kingmaker, you need to have a heart for the people. You got me?
Yeah.
You can't say that I can't teach him that. No, to become a kingmaker, you have to give the maximum. You must be a giver. The more you give, the more they would adapt. And the more you give, the more you discover yourself. So you must be a person ready to discover your weakness and learn from it. And at the same time, share that with others and bring them up. So every segment of your life, you should give the best to the others. And that's how you can grow and you can excel in whatever you're doing.
It was a great experience. Thanks a lot, Sensei. Thanks for spending your precious time with me and Ideal SPC unit. Also, I would like to thank Jyoti ma'am for this great opportunity. Thank you, Ideal. Once again, thank you, Sensei. Have a great day. See you
Thank
till
you.
then. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. It was an honor.